You're listening to the Deidre Reigel Hope and Healing Radio Show, where your voice matters. We're glad you're here and believe you will be too. And now, Deidre Reigel with today's guest.
This is Deidre Reigel. A big welcome to our listeners today and an extra special welcome to Matthew Slaughter. Matthew, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. I've looked forward to this for weeks now. So if I may, I'd like to just tell our listeners a few things about Matthew Slaughter before he and I begin our conversation. Since 2003, Matthew has been working as a soil scientist professional, devising innovative solutions to soil problems. In 2005, he began his own company called Earthfort and has expanded his business to 9 countries, most of the continental U.S., and in this process has worked with every type of major crop farm, or farm crop rather, and large-scale farms. I'm going to say that again. He's worked with every type of major farm crop and large-scale farms, providing practical ways to become viable biological farmers. I think this is pretty impressive. So, Matthew, we all know that if our soil isn't healthy, our food isn't healthy. And if our food isn't healthy, we aren't healthy. So I have the sense that what you're doing is of great importance for all of us on the personal level. So I'd like to start by asking you what kind of soil problems we are experiencing in our country and in other countries.
Yeah, so the soils on a global scale, and especially here in the States, is the practices of agriculture are degrading the soils. The structure of the soil, the ability for it to hold water, the ability for it to not erode, all comes from either overworking the soil, so over-tilling is a major problem where it destroys the structure of the soil. And so that's an important component because what we're talking about is a habitat for microorganisms. And when the microorganisms are degraded, then the soil doesn't function the way it's supposed to. And that leads to other problems, which is the tendency to over-fertilize. So we use a lot of the commercial fertilizers we use are chemical or salt-based tools that have, they grow plants that force plants to take up nutrients so that they grow, but in the process, they are contributing to this degradation of the soil. In other parts of the world, this salting of the soil is happening due to desertification and other processes. Climate change is affecting that as well. But here in the States, it's really about over-fertilizing, overworking of the soil, and basically diminishing the life.
So this is a vicious circle, and
Yes.
I'll tell you, I've been aware of it since my 30s when I became a customer of the Shaklee nutrition products. And my dear friends then, and still are, Bob and Zoe Dufour, who live in Florida, began to educate me about how degraded our food supplies are because the soil the food is grown in is not healthy. And then as I went on in my own personal journey with my own health and realized that we need to actually eat dirt because of the microorganisms in it. That's very, very healthy. It helps stimulate the immune system. I realized that it was almost impossible for me to trust any source of food or agriculture with things I bought in the grocery store. So I see this vicious circle here going on. So you've devised what sounds like an elegant solution for this, and I'm very curious about what Earthfort is. And before you answer that question, Matthew, if I may, there's got to be a story about how you became so passionately involved in what you're doing. So do you mind to share that story briefly and then tell us what Earthfort actually is?
So for me personally, when I started working for the laboratory, which is primarily what we are, is a soil testing laboratory, I was in tech. And I didn't like tech very much, but it was good money. And then I saw an opportunity with this lab to do something different, work with the environment. I'm very much in love with nature. I love the natural environment. It just really sits well with me. But then there's a whole nother overlay, and this is very personal to me, and my wife can testify to the level of my passion about this. What we're trying to do is to restore agriculture to a balance of sanity so that the farmer becomes the wealthiest person in the world. So it's all about eliminating poverty and eliminating hunger from the farm. And so whether it's a hectare farm in Haiti or 12,000 acres in Texas, I want to do what I can to help that farmer, first of all, be a provider for their family, right, and provide for their village, for their town, create wealth, but then also make sure that it's not going beyond just this year or next year, but actually creating a legacy, which is to say building those soils up so that they do their job of protecting the earth. Soil is our food, soil is our life, soil is our water. Every water, all the fresh water moves through the soil, and if the soil is functioning correctly, that water gets cleaned. If the soil is not functioning correctly, then we don't have clean water. So all of those things, for me, it's all about creating the idea that the farmers should be the foundation of our economy and the stewards of our environment. And so that's kind of my personal passion.
Wow. I applaud you. I affirm everything that you're saying and doing. So you have a company you're calling Earthfort, and I love that name because for me the word fort means strength. And so I hear you saying that you wish for our farmers to be in a very strong position globally, and of course I totally agree with that. So tell us a little bit about Earthfort.
So Earthfort is it's a multifaceted organization. We're small. There's only 5 of us working here, though we have this global reach. And I think I need to update my bio because I think 9 countries is selling us short. It's probably more like 40 or 50 countries that we have worked with over the years. So,
wow, go ahead and update your bio, yes.
Yeah, I need to update it a little bit. So, we're small. We're family owned. I mean, I'm the primary owner, and my employees are everything. We run a laboratory that tests the soil. So that's the first step in the whole process. If you can't measure it, then it's hard to explain to a farmer that their soil is alive and that they should take care of it. It's fine to say that, but when they can start seeing information, here's the profile of your soil, not just the chemistry, but also the biology, then they start getting a sense of, oh, okay, well, maybe this component needs some help. And of course, when I started working with the lab, that's all we did was laboratory. And it occurred to me as we were going, the reason I started Earthfort was to answer the question, now that I have this report, what do I do about it? How do I fix it? How do I make the changes? So the other 2 pieces of Earthfort is, one is products. I've created a line of products, and I have all kinds of different tools, equipment, bits and pieces that can help the farmers make the changes and give them the tools they need to make the changes. And of course, and that's, as far as like the business side of it, that's probably the biggest piece of our business is the products. But then there's the education. So I have a DVD series. I'm working on a book. We do workshops. I do a lot of consulting. And education is probably 90% of it. If they don't understand and know what's going on in the soil and what they can do about it, then the products really don't have much meaning, and the testing is just another piece of paper with numbers on it. So we do all of the education. And one of the things, people always ask, well, how's your lab different, right? And that's probably on something coming up, but part of our education program is every time we do a test, we call the customer and schedule the appointment to review it. So we don't wait for them to call us. We're proactive. Even though we're small, we're very customer service oriented. So we call. So like yesterday, I was on the phone literally all day, talking to customers about their reports. So.
Wow. So education is power, Matthew.
Yes.
What you're talking about is healing our soil, healing our land, and empowering people to understand what's really going on, then putting the tools in their hands and giving them the education they need to understand the problem and how to ameliorate it and eventually resolve it by the word I would use would be healing. So as I said to you in our conversations leading up to our interview today, I'm so delighted to be having this conversation with you and sharing it with the people who are listening because it is critically important. Now, what sets your company, Earthfort, and your lab up? What sets you apart from other labs, Matthew?
The part of it is we're one of the few labs in the world that even offer the biological testing. There's, you can get your E. coli tested. You can have a pathologist look at the diseases on your plant. Wow. But there's not very many labs that can look at the total population of your bacteria, your fungi, protozoa, and nematodes, plus E. coli and other things. We do all kinds of different things. I think the main difference is that we're committed to the knowledge component. And so we don't just do the testing and give you the information, unless that's all you want. We work with a lot of research institutions. They're making their own conclusions about the data that they're receiving. But it's really about the whole package. What's going on in your soil, and then working with you to figure out what is the best way to heal that and to get it pointed in the right direction. So that's
you really got
one of the
you really got a personal touch going with your people, and I apologize for interrupting you. Please continue.
Okay. Oh no, it's fine. It's and so with that distinction, it's really just, we don't do testing for the sake of doing testing. We do testing for the sake of using it as a tool to help people.
Understood.
Yeah, and then the other thing that's a little different about us too as a company is, when I look at the way I run the company and the way we price our products and services, we're in this for the long haul. So we're not trying to overcharge. We've been told many, many, many times that we could charge a lot more for our products and services. And I'm like, yes, I probably could, and it'd probably be very successful that way. However, I want the services to be accessible to the home, to a market gardener, to even a homeowner. How is a Haitian going to be able to afford my services if I price it for, let's say, a landscape industry or even a turf industry or something like that. So we're really cost conscious. We charge what we need to. Of course, we're for profit, but we're not in it for. We're not greedy.
I understand, and this is the new business that's coming forth. And the more people I talk to, Matthew, the more people who are running their businesses from their heart with passion. And I believe this is the new earth that we are building and growing. So who specifically can benefit from your lab services?
Oh, my. Really, so to put it in a nutshell, anybody who is trying to grow a plant can benefit from our services. Not everybody needs testing. Not everybody needs product. Not everybody needs knowledge. But one of those three or some combination of it can really, even somebody living at the 10th story of a high-rise apartment in New York City who's got a little herb garden hanging out their window can benefit from our products, and all the way up to huge farms.
So you've developed two products that I'm aware of. One is called Soil Provide, and the other is called Soil Revive. Do you mind to share more information about those, please?
Yeah, so Soil Provide is basically what I did was tried to figure out how to get the organisms out of compost and put them into a stable form in a concentrated liquid. So we're taking the microorganisms that would normally be found in a soil or a compost and put them into an accessible product. And it's very concentrated bacteria and fungi that can be added to a soil that will help, introduce these beneficial organisms into the system where they may have been either not present just because of the conditions. A lot of container growers often don't have the full spectrum of life, or farms that have been, damaged from years and years of practices that have consequences that a lot of people didn't even know about. So it's really it's basically a probiotic for the soil. I mean, that's probably the best way to. In fact, that was the original name of the product, was Soil Probiotic, but the state in their infinite wisdom did not allow us to use that name. So, and that's fine. It's fine. It's just the way it is. So, so that's
you're providing something for soil that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Talk to me about Soil Revive, then. What I assume this would take dead soil and bring it back to life.
Yeah. So Soil Revive is probably, if I were to, more often than not, Soil Revive goes out almost all the time. Provide is only used sometimes. Soil Revive is a humic acid product with micronutrients and complex carbohydrates. It's a specialized blend that can be added to the soil. It feeds and stimulates the microorganisms, but more importantly, it neutralizes salt. So by introducing this product into the soil, we start fixing the major problem with soils, which is over-fertilized. All those salts trapped in the soil, they make it not bioavailable. It reduces the function of the soil. We put Revive in there, and to get technical, it chelates those salts. It breaks the salt bond and makes those nutrients more available. And then by stimulating the biology at the same time, then they can eat it. And what happens is that then we start putting those nutrients back into the natural process, the natural cycle, and start building up fungi specifically that is responsible for building soil structure. So we're solving a lot of problems with erosion, with salt buildup, and low productivity of those soils by adding Revive to it.
Wow. So do you have more products coming down the line in the near future, Matthew?
We're working on some other products that are add a little bit of specialty components. I also develop products for other companies. We're creating a mycorrhizal product that has the mycorrhizal spores, which is a special type of fungi that actually colonizes the root system of a plant and extends that root system and allows for better nutrient and water uptake. Not all plants need it, so it's kind of a specialty, but it's
Understood.
nice to have.
Now, does your lab test other companies' products, Matthew?
Yep. I'm. That's the other thing. I am very transparent, and I talk to other manufacturers, and I can't make enough product to service the needs of the world. Even in my wildest dreams, there's 1 billion acres of agriculture in the United States alone. There's plenty of room for lots of companies to be doing this kind of work, and there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
So I support. Yeah, we support and work with other manufacturers. Like I said, I help develop products for people. We work on different kinds of tools and different approaches, and it's one of the things that's important to me too is in this whole process is that there is no one solution to this problem. There are many paths to the destruction of the soil, and there are many paths to the healing of the soil. Kind of that philosophy that all paths lead to, the answer. So, so I take that approach pretty seriously, with different tools and different, and encouraging people to do what is right for them.
Understood. Well said. Now, you've just returned from Haiti, and
yes.
In fact, you and I spoke right before you left, and I would be delighted for you to share just a little bit about your trip, and I have a feeling you and I are going to be doing another interview soon because there's so much to talk about. But tell us about Haiti. What came out of that for you?
So Haiti, the project in Haiti is, I'm a volunteer with a nonprofit organization called Partners in Progress Haiti. And Partners in Progress is a U.S.-based nonprofit that is basically facilitating farmer training in Haiti for agroecology, is what they're calling it. So we're a variety of techniques and tools to help the Haitian farmer basically learn how to manage their farms that is environmentally appropriate and very highly productive for Haiti. And given that it's probably the poorest or one of the poorest countries in the world, I'm not shipping product to Haiti. Even if I did, it would never make it to the farmers. That's another story. So I go there with knowledge, and we work on compost. We teach them how to make compost from their local raw materials. We're working on a process of essentially teaching them how to make a version of the Provide in Haiti using basically manual labor to create it. So most of the farm where I was had no running water, no electricity, no infrastructure at all. The road was at best, depending on the time of year, it's either a dry creek bed or a river, essentially. So getting in and out of that region is pretty tough. Farmers do not have access to great infrastructure like we do here. So teaching them not to burn the soil, teaching them to these different agroecology practices, and that's why I was there. I'll be going back again probably in the fall. They're working on looking at the village is near a river and there's a lot of fishing, and we're going to look at seeing about capitalizing on the fishing industry waste to see if we can create a fertilizer that they can use locally based off of fish waste management and other natural resources for creating tools. And for me, it's all about, again, it goes back to that elimination of the extremes in wealth and poverty and empowering a farmer to actually be able to generate wealth for himself and his family and ultimately for the country. So,
absolutely.
But what's exciting is that we're teaching farmers who are basically becoming educators themselves, and they themselves are teaching the other farmers. So this trip, I was there for 9 or 10 days, and I actually only had about 4 hours of real work when I was there. The rest of it was just observing and supporting the farmers when they themselves were doing all the educating.
Well, this is one of my next questions to you. That it seems that education is a huge part of Earthfort for everybody, and so tell us how you share Earthfort's message.
Yeah, so we have, of course, the website is a great place to go, earthfort.com. We also have a Facebook page, and we post all kinds of stuff on the Facebook page, articles and stories and all kinds of different things about sustainable agricultural practices and different things like that. We also have created a DVD series, so there's 5 DVDs that we make available that talks about the different aspects of what we do. So knowledge of what the biology does for you, compost tea, biological approach to integrated pest management. The core science behind what we do is called ecological succession, and so we have a DVD on that so that people understand the driving principles behind what we do. I also offer 2- and 3-day workshops throughout the year. In fact, I'm going to Minneapolis in July to work with the Indigenous Peoples Task Force there in Minneapolis, and it's a Native American group that is growing Native American medicine in an urban environment. So I'm going to go there for a few days and just really give them the, review everything that they're already doing and just basically just download all my knowledge as much as they can take,
Understood. So you're hands-on as well as you have a wonderful website, and I assume that the DVDs are available through your website. Is that correct, Matt?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that whole set is only like 5 DVDs is like $75 or something like that.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, we're not in it for. We want people to have the knowledge, and
Understood.
That's just everything, If you don't know, then you can't do anything about it.
Of course. So now it sounds like you've got some special projects going. If you just share with us a quick little comment about some of the special projects that Earthfort has been involved with.
Well, we've done, working in the San Juan Islands up near Seattle, there's a little island called Vashon Island that's downwind from an old smelting plant. They have high arsenic levels in the soil. Now, the state fixed the residences. They removed all the soil and replaced all the soil, but the forests and natural areas on the island have not been treated, and they still have high levels of arsenic. So we worked with a retired doctor there. She applied it on the soil, and we got a significant reduction in the arsenic levels just by putting the products on and kind of helping take care of that. So we do a lot of remediation with soils. We can do petrochemical remediation as well as heavy metals. Probably the big one and the really special one for me is the work we're doing in Japan with Fukushima. And that, these stories are on the website too, so you can read up on some of the details. But we've demonstrated that it's probable, how science is sometimes, it's probable that our products can really help in the process of remediating and healing those soils in Japan. I'm working with a Japanese company we've developed a product specially for them that they're bringing into Japan. They're doing a lot of testing right now, not only with Fukushima, but also with saltwater contaminated rice paddies, waste treatment facilities, other various things where the biology is helping with all kinds of different problems. But that's kind of a sneaky way for us to get into Japan. So these guys are going to be selling it through those retail channels. Part of the problem with Fukushima, of course, is even though it's out of the news, the problem isn't gone. Those reactors are still active. They haven't shut them down yet. So they're continuing to contaminate the environment, and there's really, right now, there's nothing they can do in that regard. They haven't developed the technology yet to address the real problem. So, but what is nice is that the radiation zone is shrinking, and so if we start out on the outer fringes and start treating the soils, moving in towards the reactors, we can probably accelerate reclaiming of that land by many, many years, and also reduce the extreme cost of just digging it up and removing it. So we don't need to do that. Yeah. So that, like I said, there's more information on the website. Yeah.
There is so much that you're doing to help our planet, Matthew. It's almost overwhelming. And yet, I say I praise it. In fact, a big shout out to Lynn Walker, a mutual friend of ours, who had referred you and me to each other. Thought she would, this would be great for you to come on my radio show. And that was one of the things that she spoke about, because I know it's near and dear to her. So a big shout out to Lynn Walker. Thank you so much for putting Matthew and me together. As we come to the close of our interview, Matthew, I wonder if you could share with us a unique use for your product.
So probably the most unique use of the product, and this is a fun one. So again, up in Seattle, there's a zoo, and they have a Komodo dragon. And if you're not familiar with the Komodo dragon, it's one of the most toxic animals in the world. The bacteria that lives in its mouth is a flesh-eating bacteria. So if it bites you and you don't get help, you're probably, well, its hunting strategy is it bites a wildebeest, walks away, 3 days later the wildebeest is dead, and then they come and eat it. So interestingly enough, the smell and poop from that animal is also pretty toxic. So we're using the products in maintaining the habitat, and it's basically, it's an ongoing process, but we're controlling E. coli levels in the soil, in the habitat, and odor with the animals. So in the zoo up there, I mean, they're using it, the Komodo dragon was the first one, but they're using it with ocelots and jaguars and monkeys and goats and I don't know what else. I mean, they're just using it for all kinds of different things, mostly for odor control, but also for disease mitigation within those confined habitats.
And that's pretty darn big. That almost boggles my mind, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm a musician and a composer and an author, and I live in that world, and I go to the zoo, and I don't think about these things. I go to the grocery store, I do think about things, but you have so opened my mind to another level of awareness beyond what I even anticipated this interview to be. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and the important work you're doing to spend time with me. I am so eager for our listeners to really, really hear what you're having to say and really become acquainted. And with that, I'm going to just give a little bit of contact information here and invite our listeners to go to earthfort.com, and that's spelled just like you think it would be, EARTHFORT.com. Take a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, look around Matthew's website at the work that he's doing, at the work that's coming down the pike. Educate yourself, get inspired, get involved, because it affects all of us. So, again, that's earthfort.com. If you want to call their business, you could certainly do that, and that is area code 541-257-2612. Again, that's area code 541-257-2612. Of course, that is the United States of America. Matthew, I'm just blown away with what you're doing. And again, I so want to thank you for being on the show today. Can you share with us one final parting message, please?
Well, thank you for having me, for one thing. I really appreciate the opportunity to always share. The main thing is, from a philosophical perspective, is that the solution to all of our problems is to focus on life and not on technology, not on chemistry, not on any of this other stuff. Focus on life and appreciate life, because that's what this earth is all about, and that's what Earthfort is about, is preserving, protecting, and enhancing life. So it's, when you look at your plant growing in a container, it's a living thing. Take care of it like you would your child or your cat or your dog. It's a living thing. Take care of it. So, and if you're working on a farm, well, good for you.
Such beautiful words, so inspirational. That gets a big wow and a big thank you from me, Matthew. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been speaking today with Matthew Slaughter of Earthfort, and this has been a phenomenal interview. Again, Matthew, I so thank you for your time. I know you're going to be a recurring guest on the show because we all need to know what you're doing and keep up with you. So I salute you, Matthew. Thank you once again for sharing your time and energies with us and providing hope and healing for our land and for life itself. Focus on life. Well said. Matthew, do take care. You and I'll be talking soon. Ladies and gentlemen, our listeners, thank you for sharing your time, and we hope this has been a message that's provided hope and healing for you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the show and host. This podcast and its content are not intended to diagnose or treat any medical or mental condition or substitute for proper professional care in this regard. You've been listening to the Deidre Reigel Hope and Healing Radio Show, where your voice matters. We hope you have enjoyed this podcast and found inspiration for your own life. If you would like to be a guest on this show, please contact us at drhoperadio@gmail.com. That's drhoperadio@gmail.com. I'm Oliver Dill on behalf of all of us here at the Deidre Reigel Hope and Healing Radio Show, wishing you a day full of joy and goodness.